Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, hang with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we're going to discuss the 3 most underrated spells in Dungeons & Dragons.
Hey, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the News Letter. It's a great way to get gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
We were pondering a little bit, and this pertains more to our personal group and our experience with 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Your mileage may vary in your games, but there's several spells that we feel like are a bit underrated in this edition, and some of them are, in our opinion, were quite popular in previous editions.
Indeed. Maybe
our groups just played the game wrong. I don't know. But, going by, our regular groups as well as, all the one-shots we run with the fans online, there's this overarching theme with certain spells that just doesn't seem to come up, and we just wonder why they seem to be so underrated in this edition.
I hear you. All right, so we got a first level, a second level, and a third level spell that we're going to throw out there, and it's just by happenstance that happened. So I think we should go in a spell level order. What do you?
All right, that works. All
right, so starting off, Burning Hands. In 2nd edition, this was one of my top 2 favorite spells. Mind you, we didn't get the high levels back then, but I had a pyromancer, totally loved Burning Hands. When you leveled in that edition, based on your spell level, spells did higher damage using, they didn't have spell slots back then, but they essentially did. Your spells would get more powerful as you got leveled. So this spell maxed out at 5 die 4, and that was pretty awesome. It starts off in this edition at 3 die 6 and a 15-foot cone. Only downside is you need to be right up in the monster's face. But if you've got a bunch of little things, you could go fry them all with one first level casting.
Well, and that's one thing that's never changed. Like, you've always had to be close with that spell.
Right.
And like this was always your Burning Hands, right? That was the, so it had the cool thematic, heavy metal thing you could do to light your enemies up. And I feel like, that was like the go-to spell. It was really always a tough decision between that and Magic Missile, if if not you had both in previous editions. And in this one, not so much with Burning Hands, although while Magic Missile is still hanging tough.
Yep. But you got 3 die 3 die 4 plus 1 that you can spread around with a first level casting of Magic Missile, whereas 3 die 6 to an entire area in a 15-foot cone. That's a lot of potential targets.
Yeah, and then I guess the other problem too is it's a pumpable spell, which is fine because there isn't as many offensive 2nd level spells, so bumping it to 2nd level is not a big deal.
Right.
But once you hit 3rd level, there is absolutely no reason to use this spell.
Right.
Because
Fireball's
because you have Fireball.
Right.
The other good thing I would say about Burning Hands too, which makes it a little bit more surprising that it doesn't get used a little bit more, is the fact that it's evocation. So you can safely cast it standing directly behind the fighter and get the guys on the other side of him and skip him.
Right, because you have that evocation bonus of, I'm going to just deselect my allies from the target area. You're fine. Boom!
So, so that's our first level pick. Our second level pick is Aid. And I kind of forgot about the spell a little bit. And I think in previous editions used to be temporary hit points plus the equivalent of a bless spell, but it's not quite that anymore. You don't get that equivalent to a bless spell anymore. But what you do is up to 3 people, each target's hit points maximum and current hit points increased by 5. Right? Not that big a deal, but it is a 15 extra hit points in your party, and it lasts 8 hours, which means if you can heal them back up to that 5. So it's temporary hit points
during a short rest.
Yes, because within an 8 hours window, could absolutely. So I feel like you can get a lot of bang for your buck on this one.
I think the real hidden gem there is it doesn't produce temporary hit points. It produces bona fide buffer of magical hit points that, as you ebb and flow throughout that 8-hour day, you've got the ability to be like, well, those are just a little bit more that you can get back while you do a short rest, while you use your healing magic on them. And once that 8 hours goes away, well, then they're going to get restored back. But 8 hours, no concentration.
And there's another thing too, right? There's two other things that you should keep in mind. One is the fact that it would stack with temporary hit points.
Yes.
So that makes it even more useful. And two, it's pumpable.
Right.
So, if you wanted to cast it as a 5th level spell, then that's 20 hit points per person.
So does it give another person, or does it give another target, like more?
You get 5 more hit points.
So each person gets 5 hit points at 2nd level, and you can target 3 people. At 4th level, what happens?
At 4th level, they would each get 15 hit points instead of 5.
And it's still 3 people?
It's still 3 people.
And 5th level bumps it to
20.
20?
Yeah, so an extra 60 hit points throughout the day. You can still use temporary hit points.
That's nice.
And, especially if you have people that are up front, your paladin, barbarian, a fighter, you cast it on them. You let them soak it. It's going to, and you keep healing them. So you take a short rest, they use their hit die and bring it up beyond. So it's useful. I think it's super underrated, super useful. And I don't know why it doesn't get used in our game at all.
Well, both groups have a cleric. Now, I can only say that I, as Ted, for playing Relium, totally missed out on that one. Now that I'm high enough level, a 2nd level spell slot, I've always got a free one, so that's gonna go into my.
You could literally just cast 2 of them and not even think about it.
Yeah.
And cover the whole party.
Yep. And there's been times that would have totally made a difference.
As far as dropping or not, yeah, absolutely.
So then we move on to 3rd level, and now, mind you, when you talk about your magic user, your mage, your wizard, however you want to call it, 3rd level. Everybody's like, well, you've got lightning bolt and you've got fireball, and most people don't even bother looking
past those two spells.
It's like,
and haste,
Oh, well, okay.
If you want to pump.
So, but there is a hidden gem as a 3rd level conjuration spell, and I've got a fondness in my heart for conjuration magic, as opposed to Evo, which a lot of people do. But Sleet Storm, concentration.
It's true. Evo is only seconded by. Emo.
And
that's necromancy for you guys following at home.
Sleet Storm's concentration up to a minute. It doesn't do any damage, and that's why a lot of people totally forget about this spell. It's a 20-foot tall cylinder with a 40-foot radius centered on a point you choose within 150 feet. That is a massive amount of space, and it can do quite a lot for that one casting. So for the next 10 rounds, as long as you stay out of damage, the ground is difficult terrain, so it's going to cost them twice as much to move through it. Great. Now your other spellcasters and archers are going to be able to pepper them as they slowly trudge through this 80 feet worth of ice and hail and whatever have you. Anyone that's concentrating on a spell has to make a concentration check equal to your spell DC, because that's what it says. So with the average level spellcaster at this point in time, that's as if that caster took 30 points of damage to get to that level of a DC, which that in and of itself is pretty cool. But that's not all. When you enter into the area or the first time on your turn, you have to make a dex save. On a failed save, you fall prone. So, falling prone, half your movement to stand back up. So it's going to slow them down that much more. It is a great way to slow down your adversary while they're far enough away that you can begin peppering them with other spells.
And if you happen to be a lore master, you can make them make intelligence checks or charisma checks.
Well, that's...
Which would be every round at that.
Well, can't we just throw another slot and do it from a mile away?
Well, you could, but you want to want them close enough so you can ridicule them as they can't get up.
So I just think that this is a fabulous spell, and I don't think anyone has actually used it in the couple of years that we've been playing 2nd edition. 5th edition.
I do. I think I've looked at the spell and go, oh, no damage, and moved on.
That's what a lot of people look at. It's all about the damage. It's all about the DPS, and
It's an awesome spell for controlling the battlefield, or for control type magic if you're using a 4th edition terms. And not only that, like 40-foot radius, that is 2 fireballs.
It is.
And if you have more than one caster in your party, and you have someone cast Edward's
Avard's Black Tentacles.
Edward's Black Tentacles, and then you center this spell on top of that. Oh my God, they will never get out of those tentacles ever. I mean, I don't think you can stack. I don't think you can stack difficult terrain, but what it's going to do is it's going to make them make that concentration check, and also that deck saving throw. So they're just making more saving throws to try and get out of that area.
Indeed.
And that's just off the top of my head. I bet there's a bunch of other things you could combine it with. It would be disgusting. I'm thinking, like, right off the bat, I'm thinking about combining it with cloud spells.
Fog Cloud. That's where I was going. Would be next would be Fog Cloud.
Well, not so much Fog Cloud, but like Cloud Kill or Stinking Cloud. Things that are going to have an adverse effect to those that are trapped in there.
Well, there's that as well.
And people are going to just want to get out of there, but they can't. So that is really cool. It kind of combines like the coolness of Grease with even more range, a bigger radius, and other effects. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a good one. It's also going to be good for trying to shut down their spellcasters, and also they can't see. So if they do have spellcasters, they can't target you. I mean, you're going to have the same problem, but I feel like you want to put your fighters on the edge of it and have them keep pushing them back in.
Yeah, and that's where Thunder Wave and any of your movement powers, get them back in there. Up, you start your turn. Up, you fall over. Up, oh, you can't get out now.
Yeah, or combine it with cone spells and stuff like that, where you can get a huge swath, and you can try and guess with Fireball and just throw them in the general area. Yeah. Hey, look, if you have Action Surge and fighter levels, you can just throw 2 fireballs and cover the whole area. You're bound to get it, one way or the other. But I guess the real question is, what spells are underrated in your game? What spells do you feel like don't get used as much as you would think they do? Or what if you think we're completely wrong? Let us know in the comments below while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
You can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.
Personal group and our experience with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, your mileage may vary in your games, but there's several spells that we feel like are a bit underrated in this edition, and some of them are, in our opinion, were quite popular in previous editions.
Indeed.
Maybe our groups just played the game wrong. I don't know. But going by our regular groups, as well as
spells did higher damage using. They didn't have spell slots back then, but they essentially did. Your spells would get more powerful as you got leveled. So this spell maxed out at 5-4, and that was pretty awesome. It starts off in this edition at 3-6 and a 15-foot cone. Only downside is you need to be right up in the monster's face. But if you got
all the one shots we run with the fans online, there's this overarching theme with certain spells that just doesn't seem to come up, and we just wonder why they seem to be so underrated in this edition.
I hear you. All right, so we got a 1st level, a 2nd level, and a 3rd level spell that we're going to throw out there, and it's just by happenstance that happened. So I think we should go in a spell level order. What do you?
All right, that works. So
all right, so starting off, Burning Hands. In 2nd edition, this was one of my top 2 favorite spells. Mind you, we didn't get the high levels back then, but I had a Pyromancer. Totally loved Burning Hands. When you leveled in that edition, based on your spell level.
Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, hang with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today we're going to discuss the 3 most underrated spells in Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey, jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the News Letter. It's a great way to get gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
We were pondering a little bit, and this pertains more to our